bringing you the latest news from Lubbock High Athletics. This is the Westerner Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the High School Fan Zone on Monday night. We're going to jump into the Westerner Fan Zone. I got to keep it straight in my head here. I mentioned to Devin. You got Devin, who coaches at Coronado, or coaches at Estacado, graduated from Coronado. Mm-hmm. Got you, who coaches at Lubbock High and graduated from Estacado.
Yes, sir.
Josh Davis is going to make it easy. He graduated from Monterey. He played at Monterey, so that's easier for this old mind to keep in mind. How are you, man? This is Reggie Gibbs, Lubbock High coach.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Third year?
Yeah, this is my fourth. This will be my fourth year.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm getting my numbers. COVID messed me up bad because every time I start thinking of a year, I have to think, what, was he or she there before then? Because that year just kind of
I was up north doing COVID. Yeah, That was my last year at Cap Rock.
That's where I met you.
Yes, sir.
The first time I met you, I'm going to bring up a bad memory, was when you played Monterey in the regional quarterfinals.
Yes, sir.
And that was a great game.
Yep.
That was pre-Josh. Josh was an assistant coach that year.
Yes, he was.
Just an incredible game that you guys lost on a last second. I'm trying to think. Monterey won several games in that stretch.
Yeah, they actually jumped out to a pretty good start. First quarter, I still remember that game very vividly. But they jumped out to a pretty good start first quarter, and our guys fought back, had a better second half, and kind of got back in the game. Missed a lot of key layups there late in the game, and we had to foul and found ourselves, in the game. And they came down to whoever had the ball last, and they had it last, and they ended up going to a regional tournament.
They did, and but that was a very good Cap Rock team.
Yes, sir. Yes, it was.
You made the transition down here again, Estacado graduate, so you knew the lay of the land down here. And you've also got a famous sister-in-law. I've asked you about this before. I've got to give her some publicity here because she knew my father-in-law pretty well.
Yep.
Chris Kennedy, longtime coach at Slayton.
Yes, sir.
She knew a little bit about basketball.
Yeah. We sit down and talk about it a little bit. She tries to sit in the back burner a little bit. Don't want to step on any toes. But when I need to go to, I always tell her you got 2 state championships, and one of those teams that she had, she only had 2 players pretty much. One of them ended up going to Oklahoma, Felicia Whaley, and she did a really, really good job with that team. So it's good to have somebody in your back pocket that you can go to and talk a little basketball.
Now, what about Mrs. Gibbs? What's her basketball?
She knows basketball because of me.
Okay.
And we sit down and talk. Actually, it's getting to the point where when I'm watching film at night, my daughter's on one side watching, she's on the other side watching, and her, telling me, you should have done that, so they should have done that. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. But she knows pretty good background she has a pretty good background of basketball because of me. Yes, sir.
Now, where did her and Chris grow up?
They grew up in Slayton.
Okay.
Yes,
that's what I thought. So they both, and I assume your wife played?
Yes, she did.
Because that's one of those towns where if you grow up and you can walk and chew gum, you're going to play basketball.
Yep. Yes, sir, it is. Yeah, they were back there when Canyon was really, really good. Chris had some battles with Coach Lombard. She had some battles with Coach Weiss at Levelland. Yep. They were really good. Had some battles with the Nazareth girls when they were really good. So, yeah, it was pretty good back then for girls basketball like it is now.
Well, we talked about when you played at Estacado, it was pretty good back then in Lubbock as well. For folks who don't know, this dude could play some ball. He played at Estacado. You went on to Louisiana Tech.
Yes, sir.
Which I spent a lot of time in Louisiana down in Baton Rouge, so I know the history of Louisiana Tech. We probably know some of the same people. You may have played with a couple of them that I know. Came back. Give me your quick coaching bio.
Yeah, I've been all over, trying to get into a head coach. I really was trying to get back here, and everybody loves Lubbock that much. They would never resign because Lubbock was a good basketball haven then. But yeah, I actually started out at Lubbock High, my JV. I was JV coach for under Coach Vic at Lubbock High School for about 3 years, and I ended up going over to Slayton and started my head coaching career at Slayton. I was there for 2 years. And ended up not working out at Slayton, and ended up coaching some private school basketball and private school girls, as a matter of fact.
There you go.
And that was, I tell you, that was humbling. That was very humbling. I always say that made me a better coach because, private school girls basketball, they're not in it for the wins and losses.
Nope.
They're in it to have fun. So it was really humbling. And from there, I ended up getting a call from a guy named Gant Caraway who had just won 2 back-to-back state championships at Morton. and that really kind of jump-started my head coaching basketball career. Went to Martin for like 4 years and went 3 rounds deep in the playoffs all year, and then went to Olton and did the same thing at Olton and ended up getting a coaching job at Sul Ross as a college coach, and they went on to the state tournament to play that year, which my starting point guard is now the head coach at Olton, Bobby Workman. So, and he was a pretty good quarterback too. So everybody was surprised about basketball. But, yeah, I've kind of been all around. Made it to the state tournament once I went to Houston, had a pretty good squad in Houston. A lot of like the Caprock squad, very athletic, had some size, guys could run, could shoot it. And then I, kind of wanted to get back here with, mom and dad, and that's kind of where I ended up.
Caprock and now at Lubbock High. We're going to talk more with Reggie Gibbs when we come back after the break on the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Keeping you up to date on the Lubbock High Westerners. This is the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score with Reggie Gibbs, the Lubbock High boys coach. We're talking a little bit about your history. I want to talk about your present and your future with the Westerners. You're 7-6, 0-3 in district, but you look at the 3 teams you've lost to. You kind of got the gauntlet right off the bat there. You lost to Tascosa. You lost to, I don't know if you saw Josh Davis walk in there, if you're going to give him a dirty look or not.
I know.
And you lost to Amarillo High. So you've played now you play Lubbock Cooper Tuesday, which may be the other team that's kind of pegged as one of the potential playoff teams.
So on Friday.
And there we go. There's the other one. So Lubbock High is going to have to kind of scrap and claw and do anything they can to be in that playoff hunt. You got to find ways to stand up tall against these teams. What about this team you've got right now makes you feel like they can do that?
Well, this is new for these guys. It just seems like different year, same song. We don't get any older.
Yes.
We graduate guys and we don't get experience. We're still inexperienced and we're still younger. And still young, but these guys have a lot of fight. Got a lot of basketball knowledge and they're hungry. They're hungry to learn. And that's the thing. We hadn't been in too many fights like we were in this district, and I've tried to tell those guys last spring what this district is like. Of course, I've had some experience being in this district.
Yes. And
I tried to tell those guys, but, you can only preach so much, and you got to go let them out and experience it themselves. And I think, after these three games, our practice tonight, they seem like they were locked in, and I think they're understanding the 5A Division I speed now, because I didn't think they really had a sense of what it was all about.
No, because you've got some good wins this year, but it was against teams that you probably aren't going to be at the same level.
Yes, sir.
Now, you mentioned your guys. I want you to talk about your guys, but the one guy that, watching you a couple times last year, this Ray Mackey young man, he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's kind of in a funk right now, though. He's on film, and that's what we told him last year. Say, hey, you're on film now. People know about you. I know we played Midland earlier this year. He picked up 2 quick fouls, and I looked over at the Midland coach, and he was running up and down the sideline yelling, he's got two, and I'm thinking, they're happy to, Yeah. But I've got, a few more weapons that, can complement him pretty good. We just got to get those guys going. Like I said, they've got to get used to this district and get used to this playing with this type of competition. But, they keep pushing, they keep showing up every day and keep working hard, and hopefully we can go in and try to steal something, and it turns us around a little bit.
Who are those guys? Who are some of the guys?
Well, one of them is Peyton Reed. Peyton Reed was actually a freshman 2 years ago who didn't play last year, had some family issues going on, and he actually understands the system. He helps out really well. Still trying to get his legs up under him, get his will, get his bearings, but he's a pretty good basketball player, has a good basketball IQ. He's had some pretty good games, some 20-point games early this year. He's a guy that can really complement Peyton really well. Then I've got a big guy inside, Jacavian Brandenburg, who hadn't played much basketball the last 2 years. He's been on a team, but he just hadn't played. Guys sit him down, and he's 6'6", 6'7", and he's young and he's still learning, but he's gotten better. He's really surprised me with what he's done. He got hurt the other night, so he's going to be out for about a week or two until the Caprock, but he's really surprised me coming in. Then I got the 2 old guys, which is Joey Hudson and Jacob Aguirre. I've had Jacob for 3 years, and Jacob can pretty much coach the team by himself. We're always on the same wavelength as far as thinking, and he knows what I'm thinking, and I can look at him. can get that across to the guys. So I call those guys the old guys. Those are the veterans. So those are the two guys that kind of can compliment Ray, and help him out when he's in a funk like he is right now.
Because Ray's just a sophomore.
Just a sophomore, yes, sir.
I've got a junior at Lubbock High, and I try, sometimes when I talk to the players I talk to, I have to think to myself, how would my daughter handle this dude talking to him? And when you're 14 or 15, it's a little bit different. You look at the world a little bit differently.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people understand. I catch myself, when I'm filling out the scorebook or filling out a sheet for somebody else, and they want to know height or classification. I write sophomore, and I have to remember this kid's just a sophomore. He was a freshman last year, So he's got an upside coming to him. He's just got to get back into the groove of things like he was last year and get comfortable. Because like I said, people are shooting at him now, and he's got to take those challenges, and just do what he did last year and just play, relax and play.
Tuesday night at Lubbock Cooper at your place.
It's at Lubbock Cooper.
At Lubbock Cooper on that home Friday against Paladuro. Who's your first round opponent in the Cat Rock?
We drew Leveland.
Leveland?
Yes, sir.
Who's shown me some? I've seen them a little bit. They've got some guys who can play. So
yes, sir.
The road ahead for Lubbock High doesn't get any easier, but I bet that they find a way to start making some progress, because this dude over here knows a lot about basketball. I don't know if he knows as much as Mrs. Gibbs or Mrs. Gibbs' sister, but we'll defer.
Maybe I'll put them on the bench, put them in that first seat, and we'll see what happens.
There you go. That's been Reggie Gibbs from Lubbock High. We're going to take a break and then come back on the Plainsman Fan Zone with Josh Davis after the break.